Mahabharat Episode 3. In the last episode, we saw Bhishma saving his little brother named Vichitraveer. But soon Bhishma also decided to reprimand Vichitraveer for his actions but was stopped by Queen Satyavati. We also saw Ramba meeting King Valva. Let's see what happens next. At the beginning of the episode, we see Bhishma keeping an eye on the kingdom and making sure everyone is safe. Satyavati comes from behind and apologizes for the way she talked with him earlier to protect Vichitraveer. Bhishma says he can never get hurt by his mother. Satyavati goes on to explain that Bhishma shouldn't be cold with Vichitraveer. She says he doesn't have a father and that's why he has a different way of living. But Bhishma says he needs to be reprimanded because a king with a hard heart should never be a king. Satyavati, after listening to this, says we should marry Vichitraveer. She goes on to explain King Kashi has daughters who are willing to marry. And no other kingdom has a princess for marriage, so it is their only chance. She instructs Bhishma to visit their kingdom and represent Hastinapur so he can win the princess for Vichitraveer. Bhishma is astounded and doesn't understand how he can represent Vichitraveer because the princess always looks for a reliable husband before they see the kingdom. Bhishma finds this idea unethical. Satyavati says they will be honored to build a good relationship with Hastinapur. After Bhishma disagrees, Satyavati says he has to adhere to her orders as he is just a servant of Hastinapur. Now we see King Shalva entering the kingdom of Kashi. There is a big event being prepared in the kingdom as servants are working and artists are performing their art. We see Amba preparing but her sisters tease her about her marriage. One of her sisters is nervous about the marriage ceremony and doesn't understand how to choose her husband. Amba tells her sister when she sees a man who makes her heart beat faster and doesn't make her comfortable, that is the man she should choose. Amba is sure their lives are going to be secure and happy. Meanwhile, we see Bhishma with his army. In the ceremony we see King Salva smiling at Amba while the king welcomes everyone. But his announcement gets interrupted by Bhishma entering the ceremonial place. Everyone in the room is confused about why Ganga's son Bhishma is here. Bhishma bows down to the king and says he is here to win over one of his daughters. Bhishma explains a king always wants his daughter to get married with a skilled husband and a reliable kingdom. And Hastinapur is the strongest kingdom on this planet. King Salva doesn't look comfortable with this. Bhishma explains king should give away his daughters to Hastinapur, and if any king here has a problem then they can challenge Bhishma for combat. King Salva gets up saying, "A Kshatriya never ignores a challenge for combat," and goes into the middle of the room and takes out his sword. He charges at Bhishma with his weapon, but Bhishma using his bow shoots out a shockwave throwing King Salva away. The king knocks his head and falls unconscious. Amba, devastated, runs towards the king and tries to wake him up. She gets up with anger and asks Bhishma who gave him the right to barge in here and start a competition. She says if she wanted to get married on the basis of skills, her father would have arranged a competition. She explains she has accepted King Salva as her husband. Everyone hearing this is shocked. Bhishma asks the king if this is true. But instead, Amba answers and says this is true. Bhishma says this is not a ceremony, instead it is a manipulation as every kind has travelled from their kingdom. Bhishma says they should have married her if they knew this. Every king around them agrees and stands up with Bhishma. The king apologizes as he didn't know about her love for Salva. The kings say now that Bhishma has won the daughters they should be married to King Salva. King Kashi agrees but not Bhishma as he doesn't want the princess to live sadly in Hastinapur. Instead, he suggests asking the other daughters if they have chosen a lover. The daughters say no. Bhishma says then the eldest of them, Amba, will be married to her lover Salva and Hastinapur will support their decision. But the other two will be married to Hastinapur's prince. The daughters are happy. We now see Hastinapur preparing their ceremony, but when the Pandit asks for the bride, Amba interferes and enters the room saying the bride has arrived. She storms into the room and says she is ready to marry. Satyavati asks who is she. Amba explains she is the daughter of King Kashi whose life is ruined due to Bhishma. Bhishma asks how is this possible as he has stepped down. Amba explains because he defeated King Salva she become a trophy, not a woman. King Salva believes she is a trophy as Bhishma won her. Bhishma tries to explain his side and says he will go and talk to King Salva. She says this is not what she wants. And now that he has won her she can only marry him. This puts Bhishma in trouble as he has taken an oath to never marry. Watch what Bhishma will do in the next recap of Mahabharat.